Aloha, everyone. I am Dani G, professional tattoo artist of over 13 years. I co-own Beach Park Tattoo in Kailua, and I also am the founder and designer for Ocean's End Hawaii, home to Hawaii's luxury designer handbags. When I was asked to speak for Creative Mornings, I was really excited, a little bit nervous, as you can tell, but just truly honored to be with you guys all today. Sorry, this is like, right? But really, I am truly honored to be here. And, you know, when I heard my topic was going to be about pain, I thought, well, isn't this convenient, right? Because I'm your neighborhood dealer of pain. But in all seriousness, I thought about it and I thought, am I surrounded by pain daily on just a physical level? And I thought, no, many days it is mental. A lot of you who have tattoos can agree with me that the first things we get asked are, does it hurt? And you know, if you ask me, yes, it all hurts. Every one of my tattoos have hurt. They still hurt, and they will hurt. And some more than others. But I've been doing this for a very long time, and you're gonna come across some people that have what we call a high pain tolerance. These people can sit for hours and get tattooed, and it seems like they don't feel anything, right? While one person can go through so much pain, and another person can crumble at the thought of even having that needle touch their skin. This idea that everyone handles pain differently suggests that mental strength has a lot to do with its connection to the rest of the body. That when your mind is strong, a lot of times we can redirect and even withhold an enormous amount of pain. When I was pregnant with my first daughter, I told myself I wanted to do this natural. I wanted to feel what it felt like to give birth. No pain medication, no epidural, all natural. And boy, was I in for a wild ride, right? About 5 minutes in, I felt like I wanted to die. But you see, your body is this amazing vessel that is capable of doing amazing things. And so I was about 26 years old and already covered in a substantial amount of tattoos. And it's weird to say, but at this moment, I felt this tattoo journey, this journey of me being covered in tattoos has brought me to this point to deal with a great amount of pain. And as with no epidural, as you're going through these contractions, I found myself coaching myself, breathing through every contraction, riding that wave, and focusing and preparing myself for that next contraction that is inevitably going to come. Just like when you're getting a tattoo, you have to breathe through every line and focus through that shading process. You cannot panic or freak out because it's only going to make it worse. You see, without getting an epidural, I could feel every pain. I allowed myself to feel every pain. And your body gives off of these hormones like oxytocin and endorphins and adrenaline. And you think at this moment, wow, my body is so amazing. It is given all of this pain, it's going through this pain, and yet here it is dealing with it all. I was gonna have this baby was gonna come out of me, whether I liked it or not, right? So my body had to find a way to get through with it, to deal with it. And so, you see, preparing for childbirth, you can prepare physically for this physical pain that we're gonna go through, but there's a pain that I wasn't prepared for, a pain that many people don't talk about when you're preparing for a baby, right? And so as I was giving birth to my daughter, I was pushing and her umbilical cord was wrapped around her shoulder, and every time I pushed, her body got pulled back in, and every time I pushed, she got pulled back in and caused her body to go under a great amount of stress. You see, when she came out finally, it took a while to hear her cry, and she got taken to the NICU immediately and was put on oxygen for the first 6 hours of her life. You see, you're left alone in this room with no baby. And you think the adrenaline is gone and this physical pain you don't feel anymore. But that mental pain that is stabbing in your heart, that pain that you cannot escape from, the pain that you're thinking, what is happening? What is going to happen to my daughter? What is happening? That pain was hard to deal with. You see, mental strength, you can be physically strong, but if you're not mentally strong, you can allow yourself to crumble up in a corner and let that pain overwhelm your whole body and eat away at its every being. I could have done that. But at this moment, I was 5 minutes into being a new mother, and I couldn't allow myself to stay there. I had to be strong, and I had to endure. And so after a long week, 7 days of pain, finally with God's grace and positive thoughts, we could finally take home my daughter. And she is now 9 years old, a big sister, and thriving and healthy. You see, we go through these moments of tremendous pain, and sometimes we want to remember them because pain always comes with a lesson. See, majority of my tattoo career has been just about that, right? People wanting to mark their skins to recognize the pain that they have been through, but most importantly, the pain that they have overcome. You know, sometimes it's funny though, right? We want to put ourselves in more pain after we have overcome this pain, just to look at it and be reminded about it every day. Like, that pain wasn't enough, that we need to now endure more pain. But there is reason to our madness. There's always reason. You see, this idea of receiving pain to prevail it brings me to the basis that we all need to endure, to overcome. When I was 22, I got these song lyrics tattooed on me, and ironically, it's so funny, I'm doing this speech now, but it says, time doesn't go back, it goes forward. We can't run from the pain, we must go towards it. You see, there's no right or wrong way to deal with pain as long as we're dealing with it in a positive way, in a healthy way. But you see, from here on out, life is going to be filled with pain, whether we like it or not. It's inevitable. Things are going to happen. People may pass away. We may get hurt. Something may happen. But pain will be there. But we must go through it. You see, we must use that pain as fuel to go through it, fuel to let it inspire us, let it help us to create, let us grow from it. See, what pain is separates us, but it is also what brings us together. When I tattoo someone, and, these times when they are getting tattooed because they have lost someone or they have gone through a very painful situation, they just became sober or anything, I think, man, I'm putting them in so much pain. I feel their pain. They're in pain. And I think in actuality, a lot of us who are getting tattooed for these reasons are releasing this pain into our art. It's what I like to call a transfer of pain. Just like when you're working out, your muscles are ripping and tearing, we know they are building and growing. This is a sign, this is an example of transferring that pain into growth. You see, I'm not saying that you need to get a tattoo to transfer the pain, or working out is the only way to release it and transfer it. It could be as simple as talking to someone, right? Talking to someone about what you're going through. Because pain doesn't need to mean suffering. You see, when you're in my tattoo chair, or when people are in my tattoo chair, I've heard a lot of pain. Painful stories that I can't even imagine what they have gone through. I can't even imagine how they got through it. The terrible pain that they've been through. But you see, the most people that I admire are those that have gone through this tremendous amount of pain and have somehow dealt with it, have gone through it, pushed through it, and come out on that other side with understanding, with knowledge, and with grace. You see, no matter what pain you're going through, whether it be physical or mental or any pain that anyone is going through, it needs to be let out. We need to transfer it out. We need to be able to breathe through it, feel it, experience it, not let it bury it away and just dwell on it and consume us, right? Because the only way through it is to experience it, and we need to transfer it out. And that is the only way we can continue to create from it and to eventually grow from it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Dani.
Oh, I just had a tattoo artist question.
Yes.
It takes a lot of self-confidence to be a tattoo artist, I would imagine. How did you cultivate it early in your career? How did you cultivate your self-confidence?
Oh, my self-confidence. Oh, that's hard, right? I feel like self-confidence takes a lot of time, but I guess I've always been interested in art, and for some reason I've always had a very strong support system. So, support system, a lot of confidence comes from that. When you have a community that supports you and a family that supports you, I think that confidence just kind of traveled through my art. I was able to be very blessed with a lot of mentors and a lot of people that I was inspired by to really help and grow, help me to grow. And so that confidence just came from me really trying to get better and better at everything I do. And I think being a female, at that point when I first started, this is years ago, now you have a lot of women tattooing, right? But back then it was a very male-dominated industry, and so I think I had to, at least if I wasn't confident, I had to try and show that I was confident and prove myself every day. And so I think with faking it some days, it kind of ultimately created me to be better and better. And when you sort of get those wins, sometimes those wins help you to have a stronger confidence to be like, okay, yeah, I got this, and oh, people are liking what I'm doing, and oh, I didn't mess that one up, and actually that one came out kind of cool. But you know, you have your days where it's like, wow, I'm actually kind of pretty good at this. Then, but yeah, early on, I think it's with the support system. Thank you for that question.
Hello, hi.
Oh, hi.
Thank you for sharing about pain, because I'm sure there's nothing more vulnerable than that, so thank you. I really appreciate it. So when you're talking about pain and how, what I heard you saying is that it really forms us, and we can choose the way in which it forms us, or we just feel it or sort of not feel it and then kind of try to ignore it and move on. But I guess from my perspective, I see myself living in like a culture and environment that kind of tells me to do everything but feel pain.
Yeah.
Like to medicate if it's,
yeah.
go home and stream, or, even with good things, that not necessarily best in the long term. And so, I mean, I know you're not like a psychologist or anything, but what's in your experience
Kind of.
maybe
I'm
to
tattoo, so
yeah.
actually I am a therapist as well.
Yeah. Maybe from your experience, can you, what's a way that is healthy to feel pain well rather than just ignore it and not deal with it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. A hard question,
Thanks,
but
Santa.
a good one. I think, first and foremost, as I was preparing for this speech, and obviously you saw when it brought back memories. And so I think the best way to deal with pain a lot of times, to feel it, is to cry. A lot of times we don't allow ourselves to let it out. And, when I was preparing for this and when I think about the pain, I was telling Javi, my other half, that he's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, it's so crazy, because as I'm preparing for obviously a vulnerable speech, I'm not just thinking about my pain, but the pain of everyone else and what people are going through and all these people I've met. And, a lot of times we're trying to be strong. We're always trying to be strong. And, it's okay to make yourself feel vulnerable. Again, like the support system, you need to find a community. You need to find a support system that will help you through, because when you're going through painful situations, I think that if you mask it away, right, and you bury it and you think, like you said something that I was like, I don't agree with that you just can move on. I don't think that's true, because you're not moving on, right? You can't just bury it away and move on, because it's always going to be there unless you deal with it. And so you're going to find yourself, if you're not going to deal with it now and find healthy ways, like I was saying, like tattooing and working out and crying, then you're going to find yourself 5 years, 10 years maybe, still wondering what's wrong, or why do I feel this way? Why am I triggered by certain things, right? And then deep down inside, you're like, wait, I didn't deal with that pain. I didn't deal with I didn't let it out. I didn't cry at that moment. And it's okay. You don't need to do it at that very moment, but you need to eventually find the reasons, what can I use that pain? Yes, it's so painful. It's so painful when I hear, like I said, I was so fortunate I could take home my daughter, right? I've tattooed people who could not. And so you have to really I don't want to say way out, but you have to really kind of just look at your life and you're waking up every day, you're taking that breath of life. You're really fortunate to move around, to even feel it. Feeling means you're alive, right? And so if you're able to do that, you need to be able to just think, okay, what is this I'm going through? Let's try and figure it out. And if you know what, it's hard, I'm crying, I'm going through it, wrap it up. That's today. Let's do it tomorrow. But try every day, and every day, for some reason, time, I know a lot of people don't like this, time is not a healer, but time will help you to heal. We don't want to forget the pain. try to forget it, but use it. Use it as like, okay, this is a lesson. This is something that's making me strong. This is a story in my book that can help other people. This is something in my pocket that can really, you can use. And so I think that if you find a healthy way of like journaling even, or just letting it out, everything, like I said before, yeah, you can talk to someone, but that's another way I think is a healthy way, is actually to journal things. It's weird because no one needs to see it, and you don't even need to read it again. But for some reason, I've done a lot in my earlier years, when you're young and you think that it's the end of the world and something happens and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to die, this is horrible. And you think, oh my God, what was I thinking when I was 14? But like, you just need to get up and go to school. And nowadays I'm like, oh, I wish I was that age again, because taking care of 2 little humans is a whole different story. But it really just transferring that pain onto paper is a release in itself. So that's another healthy way.
That's a good question.
You. Hey.
I actually have a question.
Oh.
I'm curious about, you got tattooed at 12. Can you tell us more about that story?
I was so debating to put that in, and Javi was like, why, that's you. And okay. I'm like, oh, people are gonna think we're crazy. But no.
We're all crazy.
I know. We're all going mad. No, so my dad I've had a really interesting, my parents my dad's Filipino, born and raised here, had a rough childhood growing up, didn't have much. His only way out was to join the Army. Okay, that was really what he says was life-saving. And so he enlisted when he was 17, and he started to, at that point, you have Indian ink, you have a needle and a thread. And so he would tattoo himself. He tattooed himself, pierced his ears, tattooed his buddies, and he had this little, my parents were artists, and so he had this little knack of already kind of experienced himself of stick and poke. And so when we got older, my sister and brother are a little bit older than me, and I don't know why, what came up, but they wanted a tattoo, or he was like, oh yeah, you want to see how it feels? Okay, sit down. I'll show you how it feels. And I was 12. I think they got theirs before me. And then, so, at this point, you're young and you're like, yeah, I want to see how I feel. I want a tattoo. Nobody has a tattoo. I want a tattoo. And so it's here. My, so ashy. He got it, and it took 2 hours of just, and so it started, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to go through this anymore. And he's like, sorry, but you need to finish. You wanted to do this, you're gonna get this tattoo. And so after the 2 hours, I was like, oh wow, you're like, after that pain, right? You're like, oh, I'm cool. And I went to a private school, and so we had socks that were like up to here, ankle socks, and I would come to school with it pulled down just a little bit, showing my little tattoo to my friends and be like, so like, do you have one of those? But, I was like, I always say, well, look, you started this, like, oh my God. But no, really, my parents are very, very supportive of this path I've chose. The next tattoos weren't so like, yeah, they weren't really happy about at first in the beginning.
So, you talked about, like, obviously people when they get work done, they're sharing stories and there's an exchange. As an artist, I'm sure you absorb a lot of energy at the same time too. So is that something you choose, like, do you reset after these moments with people, or do you choose to absorb some of that, and how does that apply and you think adds to your experience or value and wisdom of what you do?
I am so happy you asked that question. That is something I debated about putting in my speech, because I probably could talk an hour about that one, right? And I was like, I don't even have 20 minutes. But that is something, in the beginning, I thought about it, right? Us as artists, not only tattoo artists, but we are taking in, I am physically touching these people, right? The transfer of energy is real. It is so real. A lot of times we wonder as artists, why do we feel this way? Why do we feel so, yes, it is hard. You know, early on in my tattoo career, I had to really learn how to balance that. Because in the beginning, I was taking it all in. I tell you, I would go home with it. You know, it would really consume me. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, man, that was difficult. That was a hard tattoo. And a lot of times you come out of that tattoo and you're like, why was it so difficult? Why do I feel so drained? I'm not physically drained, but like my mental is drained. And early on, I have to say that it was hard to find that balance. But now that I have gone through my own life experiences and I have heard more and more people, and I start to realize, you know, we're all going through something. Everyone has their own pain, and like, so what I learned now is I'm a vessel, right? I want them to talk to me. I want them to release whatever it is that they're feeling, because a lot of these big scale pieces, I'm gonna see you again. You know, it starts to become a relationship. I'm no longer doing really little tattoos anymore. I'm doing really big scale things that I get to know these people, and these people become friends, and I start to hear their life story, and like I said, you know, something beautiful really happens after our tattoo, some growth happening, and so I allow people to do that. I allow them to release it out onto the tattoo, and I am also letting it stay there, right? I don't no longer take it with me, because you know, we're all in pain, and it is already hard for me to carry my own. I really try to separate that, because in actuality, I am part of their healing process, right? And I have now accept that, and I have told myself, like, this is the balance that I need to have. Let them transfer it, and then let us just keep it there. And that is why I love that I now own a tattoo shop where I can create this space where it's very healthy, and I can leave it there, right? Leave it into this environment that is safe and really creative. And so a lot of these people, after telling us this crazy pain and everything they've been through, they're actually really happy, and there's no tears and no sorrow, and we're really just breathing out a relief of just growth. Thank you.
Thanks, Dani.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.